Today I'm going to show you how to set up the Brightwater one-person shelter. What you're going to need to set up the Brightwater one-person is either a trekking pole or a carbon fiber pole from Seek Outside, the Brightwater shelter itself, and some stakes. The Brightwater also comes with a support pole. This is going to be an optional item that's not needed unless you're in extreme weather scenarios or you're looking for the most space possible. With the Brightwater out of the bag, the first thing we're going to look for is the vent that is on the back. That'll be indicated by this flap as well as this mesh here. From this vent here, we're going to go over to the right and we're going to just stake that down. When we're staking out this corner, it's important to remember that this is going to be kind of the area you're sleeping in. So you want to make sure you're on your flat spot. Stake that down. We're going to go back and find the vent yet again. And we're going to basically do the exact opposite thing, going now to the left. And we're going to pull this tight. So this is going to be the back of the shelter. We're going to pull it nice and tight in the spot that we're going to set up, which is here. And we're just going to drive another stake into the ground. So we have our back set up. Now we're just going to go to the left or right seam, depending on how we're looking at it. Pretty much just the next stake over from where we staked. Now, you're effectively creating a rectangle, but with a slight angle. So if this is our straight line, we're just going to pull this, say, 5 degrees, and we're going to stake that down, and we're going to keep this nice and tight. We're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So we're going to pull this to the straight rectangle and then pull it out just a few degrees. And we are going to stake that down. As you can see, there's that slight angle from the back pointing outwards, but it is a somewhat rectangular shape for our initial setup. You're now either going to grab your trekking pole or your carbon fiber poles from Seek Outside, and we're going to set them to 130 centimeters. We're going to find the one and single door found on this Brightwater, and we're just going to open it up. And we're going to insert our pole inside of the cone. The cone has this white material. You can either use your pole facing up with the point or with the back. I like to go with the point. And I'm going to put that pole in. And what you're looking for once you have this pole in is nice tension on all 4 of the seams that are staked out, which we do have. I'm now going to close the zipper door and I'm going to pull out to one of these 2 front stake points. You're going to leave one open so that you can easily open the door. And we're going to pull this fairly tight and we're going to stake that in. We have most of the shelter set up now. We're going to set up the back, which is kind of the bread and butter of the Brightwater here. This is the back of the Brightwater shelter. So you're going to have 2 connection points. This is your vent here. A lot of people are going to want to just stake out from this area so that you have this ventilation. However, you can move your cordage to this location and close your vent via this little loop here. You just slide that line lock through and that's going to close up your vent. But for now, we're going to just run this guy. If you aren't running the additional pole, you're going to want this to be solid in length. We're going to pull this out and pull it fairly tightly and just drive our stake down into the ground. Now at this point in time, if any of your seams have too much slack or anything, you can simply open the front door and adjust your trekking pole to be higher. So I'm just going to raise it a good centimeter or 2. I'm going to insert my pole back in just to give the shelter a little bit more tension. If you are using the optional secondary pole, now's a really good time to put it in the shelter. So these poles just simply slide into each other like so, and then take the assembled pole. In the back of the shelter, there's going to be a small area that you can just simply slide this pole in, and it's going to help prop up the back of the shelter. This is only needed in heavy snow load or extreme weather. Generally, just the guy out point can do all the work. As this secondary pole is a non-adjustable pole, if you are in softer ground, you can simply find a small rock or a twig and just set it under that pole right there, and it won't sink into the soft ground. So if you're a smaller person, you don't have to really guy this shelter out unless you want a little bit of extra room. I'd say people 5'8", 5'9", are gonna fit totally fine, even up to 6 foot. Now, if you want that extra room so your sleeping bag doesn't touch the side of the shelter, that's why we have 4 extra guy out points sitting around the shelter. These are designed to make this back of the shelter straight. So I like to just guy out the back ones myself. That gives me more than enough room. I'm 6'1" and have like a big sleeping bag, so it gives me plenty of room. I'll take this, I'll follow the seam, and I like to do these long. The longer they're gonna be, the better of an angle they're gonna give you. So as you can kind of see, it gives you that pull, which gives you that almost complete straight wall there. I'm going to take my stake, I'm gonna pull this nice and tight, and I'm gonna drive my stake into the ground. As you can see, this opens up a ton more room in the back of the shelter as well as on the sides. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side of the back. I'm going to take my cordage that is attached to this line lock. I'm going to pull it and I'm going to guy it out. For any additional support, you can guy out these front guy out points. These are going to give you a little extra room inside the shelter. One thing to note is you don't want to crank on these like the back, as it's going to put a little extra stress opening and closing your zipper. So just some light tension, pull them out and stake those out. For incredibly uneven terrain, or if you're running a shorter guy out, you may want to use a redirect. In this case, I'm just using a stick, and that's going to prop this guy out a little bit more and give this even more of a square. It's not needed on flat terrain like this, but if, let's say, your guy out point is going to be substantially lower, that's going to be pulling this down and leaving a little bit of room here where it's a little bit not taut. And what I like to use is just that redirect if you're on that uneven terrain. The Brightwater is designed to kick butt in any kind of weather. This thing holds up like a tank. So there's a few other points that you can stake out either for a little more room or a little bit more stability. In the back, behind our optional pole, you're going to have another stake point. I tend to not really use this, but as you can see, if you're wanting to store a little bit of extra gear or just looking for that extra room, you can pull that out and stake that out as well. An additional point to make your Brightwater even more stable is this top loop here. You can simply tie some cordage around like this, and you can just kind of guy it off to the side, and that's just going to just pull a little bit more tension in the back, tighten things up even more. I find I rarely have to use this unless it's some extreme weather event. A few other features here on the Brightwater is if we open up the door and you have a trekking pole that is long enough, it's actually designed to be pitched with this pole a little to the off center. So this is a longer trekking pole. I can use it like so. The reason for that is it makes getting in and out of the shelter so much easier when that pole isn't in the center. So it is designed to be offset and allows you easier entrance and exit. Another feature is we have 2 door tiebacks here on this shelter, which keep this door completely out of the way. So if you're camping in nicer weather and you want to have complete ventilation, that door isn't going to flap around at all. This shelter comes with line lock stakeout points. What this allows you to do is raise or lower your shelter. So if it's a warmer day out, you can get some serious ventilation under here, or if it's colder, you can really cinch it down to the ground and eliminate those drafts. Another feature to note is if you're in nice weather and you're in a real small spot, the Brightwater can get even smaller. So you have one door rolled up there. You can simply roll this other door up here by attaching this loop, and this is going to be kind of your guy line. You can roll this guy up and completely take off a large amount of the shelter here. which then allows you to use it as a 3-sided shelter. This is also great when you're using a nest and it's really warm out. The shelter also has a D-ring here up in the cone. This is great for hanging stuff to either dry or like a light at night. It also is the connection for the nest system, which is going to provide you a floor and complete bug netting if you're camping in places such as a desert. Another little tip for you guys is this shelter does have a lot of guy out points, as a total of 5. What I like to do when I'm packing up this shelter is just go ahead and wrap up my cordage and tie it off. This is going to prevent tangles when you unpack and pack your shelter. This has been how to set up the Brightwater 1-person shelter. As you can see, there's a ton of features in this shelter. It's designed for the backpack hunter, the backpacker, the motorcyclist, bike packer. Whenever you're going to need a small 1-person shelter that actually is really big inside. This guy can fit up to 6'4" tall people, which is really impressive. And you know, you don't need to guy it out if you're a shorter or smaller individual. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys learned something today and have an amazing day.